Hello and good afternoon from Milan Malpensa Airport. We had just arrived here with the airport's train shuttle from Ferno, where we had our Malpensa plane spotting session. So today's video is going to be pretty dramatic, as we and other passengers who booked this flight experienced a lot of chaos. After arriving at the airport, we headed towards the departure hall in Terminal 1 via this long escalator, and once we were up there, we ended up inside the humongous building which was the already mentioned Terminal 1. Now, since we had lots of time before our departure, at this point still without the knowledge of any delays and chaos, we decided to check out the food court area and ended up having a what else than an original Italian pizza before security check. Also from up here you can get nice views of the apron, so naturally we did some plane spotting as always. After finishing our pizzas, we headed downstairs to security, which went smoothly. A small side note, here at Malpensa Airport T1, the security is equipped with new scanning machines, which means you can bring water bottles or liquids having more than 100 milliliters. After security, we headed downstairs again, towards the duty-free area. And then we found a sort of a quiet spot near gate A75, where we could sit and wait for our flight. Little did we know the wait was going to be much longer than we originally anticipated. So after waiting a bit we got bored, so we decided to explore the airport a little bit while doing some plane spotting again. And look who we have encountered, the Emirates A380 Destination Dubai livery. Yes, we did a lot of plane spotting because we got delayed. And then we got delayed again, and again, and again. So it seemed that the plane assigned to our flight was still in Bulgaria, and it had a 3-hour delay. I was having hopes that they would perhaps send a replacement aircraft to Milan, so that our flight won't get delayed, but that didn't happen. So they just kept announcing new delays, and after a lot of time, there was actually some hope. Aircraft is at Burgos right now, and it's actually taxiing, no freaking way, oh my god. But the departure of our aircraft from Burgos didn't mean anything, as we still had to wait a few hours, despite the fact that we would have been boarding our flight at this time if the previous flights operated by our aircraft didn't get delayed. Look at that delay. 23:25. At this point we started thinking that perhaps if we land in Vienna with a more than 3-hour delay, we would be eligible for a compensation by the airline as given by an article of the European Union. But at the same time we kind of hoped that the flight wouldn't get even more delayed, as we had a booked bus from Vienna to Bratislava at 1 AM, which we already rebooked by the way from 10:45 PM. The 1 AM bus was the last bus leaving for Bratislava from Vienna airport that night, so we prayed that we wouldn't need to stay at Vienna airport overnight. Meanwhile, this Wizz Air declared an emergency and rejected its takeoff. You can see there is a fire truck near the plane and a few ambulances are behind the building. So our plane has landed in Vienna from Burgos. Hopefully the passengers that are coming into Milan here are boarding at Vienna, and hopefully it will take off soon because I'm getting tired. After a very long time, a gate for our flight was announced, but it was still a hell of a wait before the aircraft actually arrived. You could see a few fellow passengers that arrived here at the gate already, looking pretty tired from all of these delays. A few minutes later, our plane finally took off from Vienna, headed towards Milan. By the time it was on its way to us, somewhere above the Alps, we were already supposed to have landed in Vienna like hours ago. Yeah, time didn't fly fast this time, as I usually say in my trip report. Time flew fast, time flew really fast and really fast. But after a long time and a long tiring wait, the airport finally announced it was time to board our Lauda flight to Vienna. Or was it? I mean, the plane was still pretty far from Milan, and there seemed to be various airport staff running around, which was a bit suspicious. Shortly before the plane landed, they announced that they would commence boarding as soon as the plane lands.
Passengers of this Ryanair flight to Vienna, we are still waiting for the aircraft to land. Take you and bring you as soon as we can to Vienna. But there's still some time to wait. The boarding hasn't opened yet. Will be announced announce again when we're ready. Thank you.
However, midway through the boarding process, something unexpected happened. After landing, the plane seemed to have taken a different route and parked at a completely different gate. And so this is what happened after this announcement.
Tecnico e non dei miei colleghi, imbarcheremo il volo per Vienna non in A27 ma in A76, quindi ci spostiamo tutti come un grande nella famiglia, andiamo in A76 per farvi partire il prima possibile per Vienna. Attention please, voi prendete il piacere dello sbarcare. Attention please, passengers to be or Vienna or whatever you want. We now will be boarding this flight through gate A76, not A27.
Now, this situation was kind of funny but also poorly managed by the airport staff. It was funny because we knew exactly where this gate was. Remember earlier in this video when I mentioned that after security we sat down near gate A75 and then we found a sort of a quiet spot near gate A75? Well, gate A76 is right next to that obviously, so we knew exactly how to get there. Despite being funny though, the situation was poorly managed by the airport staff and people were confused as hell. I was wondering how the situation would unfold as some of the passengers were already boarded. They had their, boarding passes scanned and IDs checked and everything and waited behind the check-in agents for the plane to arrive. But this is where we were before, at around 5 hours ago. Yeah, we have to walk over there. La la la, la la la. It's almost midnight. Yay. We're already supposed to be in Bratislava, by the way. Just so you know. A76. That's supposed to be our gate. Oh, our plane is there. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Oh my god, no way. That's our plane. Holy shit. You can tell I was pretty tired already. Of course nothing is ready here. Nobody's here. No. We're the only ones here. And the plane, of course. So after some time the other passengers started to arrive here and later the real boarding process finally began.
Priority passengers only. Priority passengers please. Following will be boarding families with children and strollers and finally all the standard passengers. Thank you.
And as we were boarding the plane, I asked the crew what happened in Burgas. The answer wasn't what I would expect.
What happened in Burgas? We had a slot 2 hours.
Okay. Finally, we were on board this 16-year-old Airbus A320 taking us to Vienna. After all that, the actual boarding process was pretty much smooth and we would soon push back.
Having your boarding is completed or they completed.
Since the flight itself was pretty much uneventful, I will try to describe what happened with this aircraft and how we ended up trying to get a compensation for our delayed flight. Make sure to watch to the end of the video and listen carefully. So, as expected, we landed with a 3+ hour delay, which means that we were eligible to apply for a €250 compensation by the airline as stated in the EU 261/2004 article. It states that the airline must provide a compensation for a cancellation or delayed flight by more than 3 hours. But the airline can resist in case the delay or cancellation is not the airline's fault, which means that they would not pay you a penny. For instance, such a situation would occur if the aircraft has flown into a horde of birds, therefore getting a bird strike. Or for example, unfortunate weather conditions or natural disasters are other scenarios when the airline isn't obligated to compensate you. In this case, from what me and Jakub researched, this specific aircraft had been delayed constantly for more than 24 hours prior to our flight, meaning it must have experienced some kind of a problem during one of the previous flights, or even multiple problems, who knows. We found out that the plane's first delay was on a Basel to Zagreb flight, which was delayed for roughly 1 hour. And on the same day, it operated a bunch of other flights. The flights go as they follow. Zagreb to Sofia, Sofia to Zagreb, Zagreb to Frankfurt, Zagreb to Vienna. This was presumably a transfer flight only, which means that the aircraft was supposed to switch bases, as the flight code suggests. But it got cancelled, so the plane flew back to Zagreb with a 3-hour delay for some reason. Subsequently, it flew to Vienna from Zagreb the following morning with a, hear me out, 5-hour delay. Then, the aircraft had like half a day until its next flight, which was to the mentioned Burgas in Bulgaria. However, despite the plane having a huge gap in between the morning flight from Zagreb and this afternoon flight to Burgas, it still somehow ended up delayed by roughly 1.5 hours. Now, if this was some sort of a challenging technical problem, they would have required a more sophisticated maintenance. They would have put the plane in the hangars and cancelled the flight to Burgas it was supposed to take, or send another spare aircraft to the destination. But since the plane took off, although delayed, I don't think there was any problem which required a longer maintenance. Or at least, I very much hope so. But then, it accumulated even more delay time in Burgas, which was, according to the crew on our flight, caused by slot problems, which seems a bit sketchy and more like a cheap excuse, but not entirely impossible. Anyways, the plane took off from Burgas and landed in Vienna with an almost 3-hour delay. And so yeah, this is how our flight ended up delayed for more than 3 hours upon arrival to Vienna. So regarding our compensations, yes, naturally, we contacted the airline by filling out a survey available to everyone on their website. In this case, Ryanair's website, obviously. In this form you have to fill in some information regarding the flight you want to get a compensation for, plus your personal information or passenger information. After filling it out, we sent it, and after 6 days, Ryanair responded to our claim. They stated that the delay was caused by a bird strike. Now, after this reply, we contacted the APF agency in Austria. You can contact this agency if you had issues with your flight in or out of Austria, or on a flight on board an airline registered in Austria. On their website, you fill in an arbitration request, and afterwards the agency contacts the airline. When the agency contacts the airline is obligated to respond to the agency within a designated time and give the agency a detailed proof of the whole situation and reason behind the delay or cancellation. In this case, the agency contacted Ryanair. Ryanair proposed the necessary proof, and after like 2 months the agency replied to us that the delay wasn't Ryanair's fault indeed, and that it was indeed a bird strike. So yeah, we ended up with no compensation for our flight. But the main thing is that we survived and landed safely in Vienna. Thanks for watching.
Bye.